people succeed. We also try to promote a culture of entrepreneurship here on campus, so that means doing a lot of programs for the students. So we have a startup weekend program that we do. We have a hackathon that's actually tomorrow where hundreds of students come to York College and build something awesome, hopefully with the idea of taking it to the next level and actually starting a business. And then we do a lot of stuff for the community as well. So we do different programs. We have an accelerator program, which a couple of you in the room have participated in. That's an 8-week program that covers a bunch of different topics of starting a business. You get mentorship from subject matter experts, entrepreneurs, and mentors, and then at the end there's some prize money that you can win. So it's a lot of kind of just building that ecosystem. I know a lot of us kind of want to see that same thing happen, and I think York is getting really good at kind of putting all those pieces together. Things like this really help getting everybody in the same room. So again, I'm really excited to see that happen. All right, so now we're going to hear from Adam and his company, Zeer. All right.
Thank you very much, Oscar. I appreciate it. And thank you, everyone, for being here today with me. I think this is great. I do also think that York is coming into its own in the entrepreneur space, and Oscar and some of the other people here have a lot to do with that. So, I am involved in your personal safety. Zeer is the next generation of your personal safety, your families, and also public safety. Why would I do that? 7 years ago, I was violently attacked and almost killed. The man who attacked me was covered in my blood, had my money in his pocket, and threatened to rape my friend moments before the police arrived in Harrisburg, PA. I was in a coma for a month. Everybody thought I would die, but I'm not going to die. There's too much shit to do. About a year after he attacked me, they took this man to trial. He represented himself. He had changed his story 4 times. And I thought this would be open and shut. You know, there was my friend's testimony. There was my blood. There was no eyewitnesses, technically. Just all the circumstantial and physical evidence. 3 days later, he came back. The jury came back and said he was not guilty. In my bones that day, I knew that my life was going to be different. So how are we going to solve this problem so this never happens to anybody in this room? And why is it so damn hard to call for help when you're in crisis? Why, if you're having a heart attack or getting beat up by a bunch of people, do you have to struggle to find your phone, unlock it, find the keypad, dial 911, push send, and then most first responders have no idea where you are? This is the 21st century. That's absurd. I can get on the Domino's app right now, and in 5 minutes, I'll get a pizza here for $5. The woman in Buffalo, New York, she whispered into 911, help us, he's killing everyone. 911 officer said, emergency call center representative said, speak up, I can't hear you. The guy's shooting people right by her side. I can't. He has to hang up on her. This is patently absurd. So, I invented Zeer. It's very simple. Touch a button or say a secret safe word. Oh no, that's not good. Touch a button or say a secret safe word, and Zeer begins live streaming audio and video location medical information to first responders who partner with us, to your loved ones, your emergency contacts, and to the cloud. When it's in the cloud, nobody can manipulate it, and then it stops being he said, she said with what happened to you. So again, touch a button, say a safe word, get help right away. This is what happens if I say my secret safe word, angry hippos in Alaska. It starts live streaming the video and audio location, what you see here on the phone, to first responders. And this is what they see. This is the dashboard that we built, so that way you can get help more quickly. You can see, again, where the video would be, medical information, emergency contacts, all the data that is needed so you can get help very quickly. Now, unfortunately, ECCs, emergency call centers, cannot receive this data. There's $15 billion in the federal infrastructure pipeline for NG 911 using similar technology as we built. However, that money is going to take likely, in my opinion, 2 to 3 years to come down the pipeline. 2025 is my expectations. Because we run 911 services locally, not state, it's local. So that we can go to market right now and begin to help people, our go-to-market strategy is in universities. So university campus safety directors and their dispatch can see what you see right here, ahead of the government being ready for this technology. So university students touch a button, say a secret safe word. The data is live streamed to their emergency contacts, to the cloud, and also to campus safety officers who work with us. That's where we are right now. And hopefully this month, I'll go do a demo in the first university that we have been reaching out to. The mission of my life now is to stop what happened to me from happening to anybody in this room. And I will do that, or I will die trying. There's no reason this technology should not be in everybody's hand. I'm not reinventing the wheel. We all carry around the ability in our pockets. How can you help? Well, Zeer is now on the App Store as of last month. It's on the Play Store. So you can use our beta to keep your family and friends and yourself safe. If you do want to be able to call 911, just message me directly and I will release it for free. But if you use the Zeer beta, it will still live stream your location, video, audio to your loved ones and to the cloud. I could use introductions to campus safety officers and other stakeholders in the safety space, chief of police, 911 call center operators, fire departments, etc. And for the first time after over 2 years, I have spent all the money I ever had, a lot of my family's money, and we are raising a pre-seed round. Stacks Ventures has invested in us, but it's just the tip of the iceberg for what we need to do to grow the team and expand and distribute over the next 2 years. So, thank you very much. I will take any questions you have. Oh my gosh, yes, that's why we record it. I have no echolocation. I'm deaf in one ear now, so raise your hand so I know who I'm looking at.
And please wait for the microphone.
Oh, well, we'll take this. We'll take this. Who's there? Thank you.
So what barriers do you have to 911 call centers being able to integrate with your technology? What has to happen for Zeer to be active with whoever I call at 911?
What has to happen for 911 call centers to be able to receive the dashboard, to be able
Correct.
to receive the information on the dashboard?
Yeah.
So they would have to work with us. We use voice over internet protocol. So your voice goes through the internet instead of through the cell lines. That's the only way we can save the data to the cloud and send it in an SMS message to emergency contacts. However, it's interesting that voice over internet protocol is how NG 911 is going to be, that's how it's going to be done when the federal government distributes that $15 billion. So we're about 2 years ahead of the curve. Right now, if they do not sign a contract with us, they would just receive a phone call while you're live streaming to the cloud and your loved ones. Andy.
Adam, have you looked at UL Central stations? So there's like ADT that would receive the alarm, then call the police and have this information to relay the location and say, I'm watching this video, this is what's happening? So kind of circumvent 911, but get you that wide distribution.
I think that it's very possible. There's a lot of options here, but as a small startup with no traction, it occurs to me, why would they want to work with us? You know, a legacy company that big. There has been a lot of feedback that I've received to try to work with that legacy company, but I think we need more traction until we get there and find those partnerships, because there's a lot of partnerships that we can have in this space.
Hey, I love the presentation.
Thank you.
So if your go-to-market strategy is with universities, I know you said you have a demo coming up, and this might be, too early of a question, but have you thought about how you're going to get actual college students to install the app as well? Because just to give you an idea, I went to York a couple years back, and they had their own safety app. It wasn't as advanced as yours, but no one had that on their phones when I went
Yep.
there. So,
I know.
I just wanted to know your opinion on that.
Absolutely. So I have spoken to so many students about this problem. Temple, just after another murder last November, just adopted the largest competitor in the university space, which is Rave Mobile Safety. I've talked to dozens of students since then. Almost none know about it, and the ones that do don't download it or use it. So that is a big, big question. We are focused on the end user. We're focused on an easy user experience. So that is why this person wants me to come down and demo, because all of our competitors are selling directly to the universities, right? It's an institutional value. But we are not just an institutional value. You can open Zeer and it will live stream immediately to your emergency contacts, which could be your dorm mate. Could be your mother, your friend. You do not have to call campus security to get value from the product. And this is our beta, right? Everything that we do moving forward is really for the end user. As a survivor, it's really important to me that you have control over your data, that it works for you in that situation. The institutions are a second fiddle. And this institution understands that problem that you just brought up. That's why they want us to come down. I hope that answers your question.
So I actually have a question. When the data, like when you say your secret word and it activates, where does the data go to? Are you doing something with that? Like you said, it's going to move it in multiple locations and array it and that kind of stuff. Is it going to like a cloud server? Is it going to your own server?
Yes, it goes to the cloud.
Mm-hmm.
Go ahead.
And like the extension of that is for, police brutality, for example. There's always the video is probably edited and that kind of stuff. Is there anything to reassure that first video that's captured from the event, not only is it stored, but it's also maybe blockchained or an MD5 checksum of some sort where it can't be modified, and if it is modified, it's able to easily be detected that it was modified or attempted to be?
There's a couple pronged question there. Right now, it live streams to the cloud, and that is going to be as secure as any court is going to need to prove that really happened. And it goes to the cloud because, gosh forbid, the person who hurt you destroys your phone, right? It goes to the cloud. Only you can delete that. It doesn't go to institutions. It goes to your cloud account, and only you can delete it with your 4-digit PIN code. Now, our IP does lie in blockchain validation of that data. We are able to anonymously save that data to a public blockchain so nobody can access it or delete it but you. Last year, the Air Force hired us to do research on if that IP can fight disinformation and deepfakes. Stupid computer. So yes, so right now it goes to the cloud, which should be more than strong enough. However, we're trying to stay 3 to 4 steps ahead of the curve, because somebody's going to say, when they're caught on video hurting somebody else, you deep fake that. And there's going to be no way, because it's getting more sophisticated, as you probably know, it's going to be no way to prove that it did not happen. That's why the Air Force thinks that maybe we have something in the future. Thank you.
Sorry, I missed the beginning of it, but I'm a social worker, a therapist, and I'm also a 20-year survivor from Red Lion. So So when you talk about like reaching out to people, people's mindset is that it's going to happen to somebody else, right? We all are still in a trauma. The pandemic isn't over, just the viral threat is over. The rest of it's still ongoing because trauma doesn't have a beginning, a middle, or an end.
No.
It's not time bound. It doesn't have an end. It's not like you come here and it ends at 7. It continues. So, and I'm also a Temple alum. I'm a master's clinician from Temple. So schools are looking at reducing because it connects to their liability insurance, right? So schools want programs because it's connected. Schools have that sense of trust, sense of safety, sense of false safety that they need to have. End users that are students, current students, are living in a lifestyle where they don't really care because bad shit happens. And since 2001, when 9/11 happened, that is where kids are. Like kids that have grown up since 9/11 have lived in the United States, which was the first action since long ago that an actual terroristic threat has happened here. So they think different. So my recommendation would be when you think about it, you've got to think different because everybody sees the Red Cross pieces of like, hey, have your garbage can with all your extra stuff in it. How many people in this room actually have their stuff in it for a disaster? Like, nobody, right? You don't have your 60-day supply of medication or your gallons of water or your dog food or any of that in a garbage can. We all know it happens, but the mindset is it happens to someone else.
I know, you're right.
Until it happens to you, right? So you're going to need to get buy-in. You're going to need to get survivors that are their age of the end users that you want. And then the parents, but with kids having a 27-year-old, like your kids and young adults that age don't want anything like that because, like, A, you don't want it to happen to you, so that would be like admitting that's going to happen.
Right.
And B, it kind of feels like 360 life and your parents on top of you.
Yes.
So
I talk to students about that all the time.
So, like, parents are going to want it, kids aren't going to want it on their phone, and they're going to take it off. So that's kind of my spiel on that side.
That's a good point. I recently did about a 12-day study with Wharton Undergraduate Founders and Funders Association. And they have a new project called the Student Advisory Council. And what they do is do beta testing of your product for 2 to 3 weeks. And they came back to me and said, well, we like this, but what we really, we don't want our parents to follow us. They brought up Life 360. And I said, well, this is really focused on you, the end user. But we have something that I did not bring up here because there's only so much time. We have what we call a buddy walk. So that way your friends can know where you are when you want them to know where you are. And they're already doing that. So we have to make it interesting. But they use Apple to track their friends' locations already. So we're already kind of in that. But I don't know if this is the right solution, but I'm trying to find out how to access that audience. That is a really important question. One of the ways we have considered is I'm working with a writer who writes choose-your-own adventure novels for 13-year-olds on public safety and personal safety. He is an influencer in that space. He owns Safest Family on the Block. And we are thinking about building a choose-your-own adventure push notification system for college students, and they will win cryptocurrency or school swag whenever they answer the questions correctly. But I don't know if that's the right answer. So you bring up an important question about adoption. And our future roadmap is on prevention. Go ahead. Who's next? Thank you. Thank you.
All right, awesome. Thank you for that. That was a great presentation. I can start talking before it's up. Hey, I'm Evan. Me and my partner, Marcus Rivera, we are owners and founders of LEHR Labs. We are an industrial 3D printing company. We would like to branch out into additive manufacturing, like other forms of it, I'd say, like injection molding eventually, but right now predominantly 3D printing. I got my start in 3D printing pretty much as a hobbyist when I was younger. I used to 3D print, radio-controlled RC parts, drone parts, big designer. When I got into school, I went to York College for my mechanical engineering capstone project. We designed a bunch of airframes, drone airframes. And 3D printing has proved to be the best prototyping and end-use part process out there, in my opinion. And I also, after that, I went over to Harley Davidson. I was a fabrication engineer, made some gauges, tooling, and when I went there initially, they didn't have a single 3D printer, which was, I was mind-boggled because the university had a great, deal of them, a number of them. And I found that when it came to prototyping tooling, 3D printing was by far like the best way to do a fabrication mock-up or getting that prototype. Their traditional method was machining. I would give the machinists a part. I would give them or actually wait for a work order to be put in. It would take sometimes a couple days to a week just to get the purchase order in, and then they would start machining the part. During the machining, they might mess up. Or the part might break during the machining process, and it would take a while. I found that, I asked them, hey, can we onboard a little 3D printer? Small little orange Prusa, $1,000. I could prototype a fabrication, mock-up for a part tool in a day with pennies. So it saved them a ton of money on time and material. And I found that we could expand that over to other industries and provide, not only prototypes, but also end-use parts. If you're, doing injection molding, it can save you, a ton. Instead of spending tens of thousands of dollars on, tooling, which Harley Davidson would do, I was like, hey, look, let's just take the first part and print it out really cheaply. So that's where I got my kind of start in 3D printing. Before I decided, hey, look, let's start a company. So I'll hand you.
Hey guys, I'm Marcos. So my start is similar to Evan, except I had a lot less experience with 3D printing. I really didn't get exposed to it till I went to York College, and during my junior and senior years where I did a lot of design work, and I was like, man, I don't have time to, go to a CNC shop and get a lot of my parts made. I'm like, hey, there's this weird kid that's like 3D printing a lot of cool parts. I'm like, I had like this turbine blade that my professor wanted me to fast cast with it, and I'm like, I don't know how to do this. Can I just go to this guy and just print it out of flexible material? I went over to Evan with the STL. He got it to me in the next 3 days, and I'm like, sweet. I'm prototyped, worked great. I'm like, man, I didn't know anything about this technology, but I saw its effect. So when I started my internship at New Standard, I had another design opportunity. Then I'm like, let me try 3D printing again. So I got that outsourced to a 3D printing company, got the fixture back, worked great, and I'm like, man, I'm really hooked on this technology now. So shortly after the, pandemic, I was trying to look for a job, couldn't really get it. So I'm like, I wonder if I could just buy a 3D printer and start doing some design and making some products to do. So for a month I was, doing pretty okay. I was like, man, I really enjoyed this. But then I got a job, so I'm like, I'm going to put this on the back burner now. Then I heard Evan was still in the area, so I'm like, man, let me, bring my printers over to them, see if we can find some synergy here and come up with maybe some idea services we can do for people, and that's, where we're at today.
Then he realized expanding over into multi-grade engineering materials was like the next step. Tons of R&D. So yes, right now we have a number of printers that can print lower temperature materials, which are great for most parts. So that's what we focus on right now. We're hitting industrial companies primarily. They seem to find the most value in a lot of these 3D printed parts. And just so you guys can kind of relate, here are some parts. I was like in the top left corner. One company, I forget the name of that company, but they wanted a prototype, or they're actually building this pump station, this massive pump station. He wanted a prototype so he could, have a visual aid for I guess the decision makers and the buyers. So he asked us to prototype one, and we printed it out, in less than a week. The next was a fabrication mock-up. Right next to that, that was for actually York College, their SAE Formula race car. The amount of time and material it would take one of those students to machine a prototype part, check fitment, is ridiculous. I was like, it would take a lot of time, and those students, on top of all those classes, they couldn't have that. So I 3D printed all those pieces in 2 days. I was like, probably took $5 in materials. So they were very happy with it, tested the fitment, made changes. I printed out one other set of prototype parts. It fit, and they started machining the final parts. Also, right next to that, you can see this is their SAE Formula race car, all in its guts and glory. That was a Pelham, that little silver ball, if you see that. That was a Pelham for and the intake. And they were actually struggling to find a process to actually build that. 3D printing, again, as it came in, because 3D printing also allows for processing certain materials in ways that traditional methods don't allow you to actually, do. So, like machining is very limited in a lot of circumstances. So 3D printing, I was like, save that. We printed that in less than 2 days. We processed that. We actually had that electroplated. A lot of thermoplastics are actually electroplatable, so it gives you a lot of flexibility. And then again, I was like, I did mention drones. This is one drone picture. That's a 3D printed frame. The entire thing was 3D printed. There was a bunch of other airframes we were experimenting with, and we started 3D printing that. If you go to the next slide. Right now, because we are currently limited to lower temperature materials, so we're trying to go out to the market and find industrial applications and industrial customers that would find value in our current abilities. They've worked for a number of customers so far, but we're engineers, we're not marketers, so we're trying to outreach and engage, educate and engage potential clients. So that's kind of like where we stand now. We are currently trying to advance our capabilities. We custom built our own 3D printer to print much higher temperature engineering grade materials. Just because, with our startup, we have, less funding than needed. So we actually ended up building our own for a very low cost. And it's served its purpose very well. So right now, our big challenge is getting to market. So, yes. Yes.
I'm just running it over to you.
Sure, absolutely. Go ahead. Yeah, we'll pass out some materials. These are some things that are 3D printed. I apologize. I knew you were going to answer your question. Just to give you some ideas of what was prototyped, a lot of parts.
My main question is, can you print on other substrates? Like, can you do rubber? Can you 3D print rubberized pieces, or?
Oh yes, absolutely. Actually, the piece you'll be handed to right now. Actually, got to steal that for you. Or actually, I was gonna hold it up. Yeah. See this? This is a thermoplastic polyurethane, and it's very flexible, very durable, very strong. Good. Pull on it, rip on it. Very functional part. That's a cable wrap, but.
Yeah, that was my main question because I have a lead for you, and I'll tell you about it after this.
Okay. Awesome. Yes.
Oh, Chelsea's got one.
Yes.
What is considered low temperature?
So low temperature applications, when we refer to low temperature, we are talking about the temperature that a part can withstand probably during normal conditions. There's plastics out there that will melt at, or soften at a low temperature such as 140 40 degrees. So we consider that pretty low temp. However, there's other higher temperature materials. We actually just were experimenting with this fascinating material. It's called polyetheramide, or Altem. And this can withstand operating temperatures of up over 300 degrees. So there's a lot of applications out there in industry where, higher temp materials. But low temp is, roughly, 140, 200 degrees, I'll say.
So when you were working with Harley Davidson, what was that kind of, like, were you actually like?
Yeah, so when I was there, actually, I used, because the function of the part that I was printing it was just a prototype. It was a fabrication mock-up, just to say, hey, instead of waiting for them to machine the final part, I was like, hey, I'll just print it out, check the fitment, and make sure it's sized correctly. I used a very cheap material. It was, it's called PLA. It has a glass transition temperature 60C. I know, don't get into numbers, but it's very low temperature. But it was just checking. We put it on the fixture, made sure it fit, and that was it. So
I definitely would like to talk to you afterwards.
no, awesome. Yeah. Yeah, no, I understand.
So when people are trying to find you, what's that discovery process look like for businesses coming in, or is it strictly outreach from your side? Like, how are you making that connection? And when you do, is it they know what they're looking for, or is it a lot of education on your part of you walk through all the advantages?
A little bit of everything. So a lot of times, customers will come to us eventually. Right now, we don't have a lot of brand awareness right now. We're starting up. But they will come to us. A lot of customers will know exactly what they want. They're like, we want this piece with this tolerance in this material. And, we'll go ahead and we'll say, yep, if it's within our capabilities, we print it. Now, a lot of customers will come to us and they're like, we want this part 3D printed. We know we want it 3D printed. We're not sure what material we want to use. We're like, what's best? What's your recommendation? And a lot of these companies will actually sometimes have a 3D printer themselves, but they're like, we don't really know how to use it. We can print PLA, but we're limited on a lot of other materials. So we get all sorts of customers in all different stages of where and how far they're educated in the 3D printing process. But we do educate them when they come through. But to answer your other question, yeah, right now we're doing the outreach right now. As I said, very little brand awareness currently. So, yeah.
I just had a recommendation. There's this really great free PDF online called the Mom Test. Joe knows a lot about it. Oh, Joe might have dipped out. I don't know.
Did you say?
But yeah.
Would you say? What did you say?
It's called the Mom Test.
The Mom Test.
You can just
Gotcha.
Google it. It'll pop right up as you're doing your customer discovery. It's a free PDF, maybe 100 pages. Just read it tonight. It'll probably take you an hour and a half. It is the most influential way of framing your customer discovery process. Instead of when you're talking to customers or potential customers or leads or anything, instead of talking to them about like a sales pitch, pitching to them and saying what you bring to the table, you need to be asking them what problems they have with their processes right now. The Mom Test will really break down exactly how to do that for you. And like I said, it's a free PDF. As you're, going about this, you're going to find customers that you didn't think were going to be your customers, and you're going to find the customers that you do think are your customers might not be your customers. So if you go home and read that tonight, it's going to really help you out. So
awesome. Thank you for that. I appreciate that.
On a similar note to the Mom Test comment, it might be worth looking at supply chain issues and what parts are hard to acquire right now that you could fill a need in fast delivery of 3D printing them versus them ordering and waiting for delivery.
Okay. Yeah, actually, yeah, we did look into that initially, trying to do some, research on any, parts that, that were affected by the whole supply chain and the chip shortage and whatnot. And we were attending some, some like presentations, like your college put out who was it? Yeah. Yeah, and it was all about the supply chain, and we're trying to, look into that because, if because 3D printing, you can print almost anything. So we were trying to look. We're like, hey, look, we can print any part. If there's a shortage, almost any part. We have to wait to get into metal 3D printing, and we don't do semiconductors. So, yeah, sure.
So actually, speaking of production shortages and stuff like that, this little tiny piece for my camera, they're really hard to find, and when you lose them, they're gone for forever. So I was looking for last night, and well, one of the cameras is missing one right now, and there are none. Panasonic has none available. There's one company in Croatia that sells them, and they are $28 a piece for this little tiny thing. And it's not regular PLA. It's kind of like that Flexi one that you had, where you can kind of bend it. It has more of a rubbery property to it.
Okay.
And
Yeah.
like, have you ever looked for parts like that for electronics and different things, like the back of doors from an old phone? And like, can you make those kind of things to fill the market gap when there isn't anything other than a $28 piece in Croatia?
Absolutely, absolutely. It looks like that part there could be printed for probably
with,
20 cents.
2 cents worth of material, yeah.
Yeah,
it's
probably
super
50.
tiny, and it's the cool thing is we could probably even number them, since you're going to make them custom. You could put numbers on each one so they go with the proper numbered camera to match it and that kind of thing.
Yeah,
So I'll be in
absolutely.
touch.
Yeah, absolutely. Actually, yeah. So our LLC is Ad3D LLC, and we actually have two entities. One of them actually deals with products. So when we were getting started, to raise some initial funding, we would actually, look for problems. I have a bunch of friends. They get into a whole, friends way smarter than I am, and like they were like, hey, look, print this. You can sell tons of these. It's like you get high margins. And I was like, okay. I was like, calipers and CAD, and then we sell. So
do you have the
absolutely.
ability to 3D scan things and scan a rendering of it and then turn it into or would you have to draw that manually and basically manually model it out to match the specifications of that? Like, do you use 3D scanning?
We don't currently use 3D scanning now. Now that's one that like we're close to onboarding to scan. We want to.
Right.
A lot of good scanning equipment is very expensive. But it's great. That part scanning, it's there's no internal cavities. Probably pretty easy to scan. Now they do have a tolerance in themselves, so we have to account for that. If it needs to be a severely accurate piece, scanning might not be the way to go.
Right, probably because of shadowing and things like that makes it harder for the scanner to see it fully.
Yeah, that could probably be scanned. Now I'll be honest, I'd probably just take a pair of calipers and redraw it up. But I was like, just so we can control the dimensions. But no, scanning's definitely a capability people were asking us about too. So we'll probably onboard that in the future.
Awesome, thank you.
Sounds like you already connected with the York County Alliance. Did you connect with the Manufacturers Association? And also from the other side of it, SHRM, Society of Resource Human Management, because tool and die makers and apprentices are very short in demand. Like, there are not people going to be apprentices. I have a friend in HR, and they're very hard to find. So if you went that angle of, hey, are you trying to hire tool makers and die makers? Oh, they don't exist. We could fill that role instead. You're going in on a different angle than trying to replace a part. You're replacing a process. It might be easier to get in the door.
Okay. Yeah. No. There's and I'll say Harley Davidson. They if they're listening, they're gonna shoot me. I could replace them with a 3D printer. 80% of their fixtures are a material that can't currently be printed, but I think I know how to print it. So and 80% of their fixtures are made out of this material, and I'm like, hey, if it can serve the purpose, it can be, a lot of these parts can be done quicker, cheaper, less internal stresses as well. So there's a lot of benefits to that. So yeah, tool and die making is definitely a route. Thank you. All right, awesome. Thank you.
All right, well, thank you all for coming, and Adam and Evan and Marcos, thank you for your presentations. It was really awesome to hear about your businesses, and it's really cool to see York College alumni doing something awesome after you guys graduated and staying local, which is a big part of what we try to do too. Thank you again to all of our community supporters, Alexa for always putting this together and everything, and the Next Gen Innovation Committee who helps fund this. Remember, they're looking for volunteers, so talk to Alexa if you want to get involved. That's important. there's still plenty of food out there. Chartwell's is our on-campus caterer, and they always do an awesome job, so please load up so there's none left. And now, next month, this is at Harrisburg University, the first Thursday of the month. And now you have time to mingle, so hang out, get to know everybody, talk, and thank you all for coming.